Marcus Chun wiped sweat from his forehead as he walked through the crowded marketplace on Station Kepler 7. The air smelled of exotic spices and alien foods he couldn't identify. 3 months into his job as a cargo handler, he still felt like a tourist among the dozens of alien species that called this trading post home. The Zephyrians towered above everyone else with their blue skin and, for arms, always busy negotiating deals. The small, furry Quillnacks scurried between legs, their high-pitched voices echoing through the corridors. And the Vorthen, with their lizard-like appearance and cold yellow eyes, watched everything with suspicious glares. Marcus was the only human on the entire station. Earth had just joined the Galactic Trade Union 6 months ago, and humans were still considered newcomers. Most aliens viewed them as weak, primitive creatures who had barely figured out space travel. He stopped at his favorite food stall, run by an elderly Quillnack named Pip. The small alien always greeted him with enthusiasm, unlike most others who simply tolerated his presence. "Marcus, my favorite customer," Pip squeaked, his whiskers twitching with joy. "Today I have fresh Andromedan fruit. Very sweet, very good for humans." "Thanks, Pip. You always take care of me." Marcus handed over his credits and took the purple fruit that looked like a cross between an apple and a pear. As he bit into the fruit, a commotion erupted near the central plaza. Loud voices argued in the universal trade language, and Marcus could see a crowd gathering. His curiosity got the better of him, and he walked toward the noise. In the center of the crowd, 3 Vorthen warriors surrounded a young Quillnack. The small alien cowered on the ground, clutching a data pad to his chest. The largest Vorthen, wearing ceremonial armor marked with scars, loomed over the frightened creature. "You dare question our payment terms?" the Vorthen hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. "Your people should be grateful we even trade with such inferior beings." The young Quillnack trembled. "I just said the prices seemed high for raw crystals. My calculations show your calculations are worthless." The Vorthen warrior's hand moved to the ceremonial knife at his belt. "Perhaps you need a lesson in respect." The crowd watched in tense silence. Marcus had heard about Vorthen honor duels. They were brutal and usually ended in death for the challenger. The young Quillnack had probably made an innocent mistake, but Vorthen culture viewed any questioning of their word as a deadly insult. Other aliens in the crowd stepped back, unwilling to interfere. The Vorthen were known for their fighting skills and hair-trigger tempers. Even the station security kept their distance, knowing that interfering in Vorthen honor matters could start a diplomatic incident. Marcus felt his heart racing. He had read about situations like this in the cultural briefings Earth Command had given him. The Vorthen warrior would throw his ceremonial knife, aiming to wound the challenger in a non-vital area. If the challenger caught the knife, they earned the right to formal combat. If they dodged or were hit, they were considered cowardly and faced exile or death. The problem was that Quillnacks were small and slow. Their furry hands weren't designed to catch flying blades. This young alien was about to be seriously hurt or killed over a simple misunderstanding. The Vorthen warrior drew his knife, a curved blade that gleamed under the station's artificial lights. The weapon was perfectly balanced for throwing, with a sharp edge that could cut through metal. The crowd held its collective breath. "Prepare yourself, little rat," the Vorthen growled. "Let this be a lesson to all who doubt the word of a Vorthen warrior." The young Quillnack closed his eyes, knowing he had no chance of survival. His small body shook with fear as he waited for the inevitable. Marcus found himself stepping forward without thinking. "Wait!" The Vorthen warrior turned, surprised to see the lone human pushing through the crowd. "This does not concern you, primitive. Step back before you join this coward in defeat." "Actually, it does concern me," Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I was the one who told him to check the crystal prices. I'm the one who questioned your calculations." The lie came easily, but Marcus knew it was his only chance to save the young alien's life. The Vorthen's yellow eyes narrowed as he processed this information. "You dare challenge me, human?" The warrior's voice carried a mixture of amusement and contempt. "Your species has been in space for less than a year. You know nothing of honor or combat. Maybe not, Marcus replied, but I know right from wrong. The Vorthan warrior laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the plaza. Very well, human. You have chosen to die in place of this rodent. I will show you what happens when inferior species challenge the Vorthan. The crowd murmured in shock. No one expected the new human to voluntarily enter a Vorthan honor duel. Most species considered it suicide. The Vorthan warrior raised a ceremonial knife, and Marcus felt time slow down around him. The crowd had grown larger, with aliens pushing forward to witness what they expected to be a quick execution. Whispers rippled through the gathering in dozens of different languages. The human is brave, but foolish, someone muttered in the universal trade tone. Vorthan never missed their mark, another voice added. Marcus could see the fear in the young Quilnac's eyes as the small alien realized what was happening. The creature tried to speak, probably to tell Marcus not to sacrifice himself, but no words came out. The Vorthan warrior studied Marcus with cold calculation. I am Krex, blade master of the third claw. I have thrown my knife in 200 honor duels and never failed to draw blood. What is your name, human, so I may record it properly when I report your death? Marcus Chun, cargo handler, Earth. Marcus planted his feet firmly on the metal deck plating. And I don't plan on dying today. Krex's laugh was like the sound of grinding metal. Your confidence amuses me, primitive. Do you even understand the rules of this duel? When I throw my blade, you must catch it with your bare hands. If you dodge, you are a coward and forfeit your life. If you fail to catch it, the wound will decide your fate. If you somehow manage to catch it. Krex paused, his expression suggesting this was impossible. Then you earn the right to throw it back. Marcus nodded, though his heart hammered against his ribs. He had never been in a real fight in his life, let alone caught a flying knife. But growing up on Earth's industrial colonies had taught him a few things about reflexes and hand-eye coordination. Years of playing zero-gravity sports and working with dangerous machinery had honed his reaction time. I understand the rules, Marcus said. Then, prepare yourself. Krex stepped back, giving himself proper throwing distance. The crowd formed a circle around them, leaving a clear path between the two combatants. Marcus studied the Vorthan's stance, trying to predict the angle and timing of the throw. Krex held the knife by its tip, his muscular arm cocked back like a coiled spring. The warrior's yellow eyes locked onto Marcus's chest, aiming for a non-vital but painful target. In the crowd, Marcus spotted several other Vorthan watching with interest. Their expressions suggested they were enjoying the show. A few Zephyrians looked concerned, their forearms crossed in what Marcus had learned was a gesture of worry in their culture. The Quilnacs huddled together, their whiskers twitching nervously. Pip, the elderly Quilnac from the food stall, pushed through the crowd to get closer. Human Marcus, he called out in his squeaky voice, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do, Marcus replied without taking his eyes off Krex. It wasn't just about saving the young Quilnac anymore. Every alien on this station was watching. How he handled this moment would determine how humanity was viewed by the entire Galactic Trade Union. Krex raised his arm higher, muscles tensing. Any last words, human? Marcus thought about his family back on Earth, about the cargo shipment he was supposed to process tomorrow, about the young Quilnac who would go home safely if this worked. He thought about all the humans who would come to this station after him, and whether they would be respected or dismissed as weaklings. Yeah, Marcus said, catch this. Krex's arm snapped forward with lightning speed. The knife spun through the air, its polished blade catching the light as it rotated. Marcus could see it clearly now, tumbling end over end, aimed directly at his solar plexus. Everything around him faded away. The crowd's gasps became a distant murmur. The bright lights of the station dimmed to nothing. There was only Marcus, the spinning knife, and the absolute certainty that he had to catch it. Tom seemed to stretch like taffy. Marcus could count the rotations of the blade, see the intricate engravings on its surface, even notice a small nick near the handle where Krex had probably sharpened it too aggressively. His hands moved without conscious thought, positioning themselves in the knife's path. He had played catch with his father as a child, caught tools that fellow workers had tossed to him, even caught falling objects in zero gravity when artificial gravity systems malfunctioned. This was just another falling object. The knife's handle slapped into his palm with a solid thunk that echoed through the now-silent plaza. Marcus's fingers closed around the grip automatically, his muscle memory taking over where his conscious mind would have hesitated. For a moment, nobody moved. The entire crowd stared in absolute silence at the human standing in the center of the plaza, holding Crex's ceremonial knife. Marcus looked down at the weapon in his hand, almost surprised to find it there. The blade was heavier than he expected, perfectly balanced and sharp enough to shave with. Intricate patterns were carved into the metal, telling stories of worth and honor and victory. Crex's yellow eyes widened in what might have been the first genuine surprise he had felt in years. His mouth opened slightly, showing rows of sharp teeth, but no sound came out. "Well," Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the silent plaza. "I guess it's my turn now." The silence in the plaza stretched for what felt like hours. Marcus could feel hundreds of alien eyes staring at him, their disbelief palpable in the recycled air of the station. He hefted the Vorthen blade, testing its weight and balance. Crex stood frozen, his throwing arm still extended from his follow-through. The Vorthen warrior's confident expression had vanished, replaced by something Marcus had never seen on any Vorthen face before: uncertainty. "Impossible," Crex whispered, his forked tongue flicking out nervously. "No alien species has ever caught a Vorthen blade on their first attempt. The reflexes required, the precision, it cannot be done." "Well, I just did it," Marcus replied, spinning the knife in his hand. The movement was unconscious, a habit from his childhood when he used to flip tools while helping his father repair equipment. But to the watching aliens, it looked like expert knife handling. A low murmur began to spread through the crowd. Aliens were speaking in their native languages, and Marcus caught fragments of conversation through his universal translator. "Did you see how fast he moved? The human's reflexes are incredible. Look how he handles a blade. He must be a trained warrior." Marcus almost laughed at that last comment. His only combat training had been mandatory self-defense classes at the Cargo Academy. But he kept his expression serious, knowing that showing confidence was crucial now. Crex slowly lowered his arm, his yellow eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "You have caught my blade, human. By the ancient laws of my people, you have earned the right to throw it back. But know this, I have never failed to catch a returning blade. Your moment of luck will not save you from my superior skill." Marcus nodded, though privately he wondered what would happen when Crex caught the knife. Would the duel continue until someone missed? Would they throw it back and forth until one of them got tired? The cultural briefings had never covered the advanced rules of Vorthen honor duels. He stepped back to the throwing distance, mirroring Crex's earlier position. The crowd shifted to give him room, and Marcus noticed that more aliens were arriving. Word was spreading quickly through the station that Human was dueling a Vorthen blade master. Among the new arrivals, Marcus spotted Commander Torres from the Human Embassy office. The older woman pushed through the crowd, her face pale with worry. She had probably received an emergency alert about the situation. "Chun," she called out. "Stand down immediately." "That's an order." Marcus shook his head. "Can't do that, Commander. I'm in the middle of an honor duel." Backing down now would dishonor all humans in the eyes of the Galactic Union. Commander Torres looked like she wanted to argue, but she understood interspecies politics too well. Any sign of cowardice here would follow humanity for generations. Other species would never trust humans as partners or allies if they thought Earth's people ran from challenges. "Then, make sure you don't embarrass our entire species," Torres said grimly. Marcus gripped the knife by its tip, just as he had seen Crex do. The metal felt cold against his fingers, and he could feel the perfect balance point of the weapon. Growing up in low gravity had taught him a lot about physics and momentum. Objects in motion stayed in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Rotation created gyroscopic stability. Aim for where your target would be, not where it was. Crex settled into a ready stance, his four-fingered hands positioned to intercept the blade. "Throw when ready," Human. Show me what your primitive species calls skill. Marcus studied his target. Krex was larger and more muscular than a human, but his reflexes might be geared toward Vorthan physiology. Marcus had noticed that most Vorthan movements were powerful but deliberate, lacking the quick, twitchy responses that humans had developed through millions of years of avoiding predators. He raised his arm, mimicking Krex's earlier throwing motion. The crowd held its collective breath again, and Marcus could feel the weight of their expectations. This wasn't just about him anymore, or even about saving the young Quillnack. This was about proving that humans belonged in the galactic community. Catch this, Marcus said, echoing Krex's earlier words. He released the knife with a smooth forward snap of his arm. But instead of throwing it straight at Krex's center mass, Marcus aimed slightly to the left and added a subtle sideways rotation. It was a trick he had learned playing zero-G catch with magnetic tools. Sometimes you had to throw where the moving target would be, not where it currently was. The knife spun through the air, its trajectory slightly off from what Krex had expected. The Vorthan warrior moved to intercept it, his hands tracking the blade's path. But at the last second, the knife's rotation caused it to curve just enough to throw off his timing. Krex's fingers brushed the handle, but couldn't get a solid grip. The knife tumbled past his hands and clattered to the deck behind him. The plaza erupted in shocked gasps and excited chatter. Several aliens in the crowd made sounds that Marcus assumed were expressions of amazement in their native languages. Krex stared at the fallen knife, then at Marcus, then back at the knife. His yellow eyes were wide with disbelief. You made me miss. In 300 years of life, no one has ever made me miss a catch. First time for everything, Marcus said, though internally he was as surprised as anyone. He had hoped to make the catch difficult, but actually causing a Vorthan blade master to miss seemed impossible. The young Quillnack that Marcus had originally tried to save scurried forward, his whiskers trembling with excitement. You did it. You actually beat a Vorthan in an honor duel. But Marcus noticed that other Vorthan in the crowd didn't look defeated. They looked intrigued. One of them, an elderly warrior with intricate scars covering his arms, pushed forward through the crowd. Fascinating, the old Vorthan said, his voice carrying the authority of age and experience. Human, what is your species' natural reaction time? The elderly Vorthan warrior's question hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus looked at the scarred alien, noting the deference that even Krex showed toward the older warrior. This was clearly someone important in Vorthan society. I don't know the exact numbers, Marcus admitted, but humans developed pretty fast reflexes over millions of years. We had to avoid predators, catch prey, dodge falling rocks. That sort of thing. The old Vorthan's eyes gleamed with interest. I am Vextar, elder of the War Council. For 8 centuries, I have studied combat techniques of different species. Never have I seen reflexes like yours demonstrated today. Krex picked up his fallen knife, his movements stiff with embarrassment. Elder Vextar, this human got lucky. One successful catch, and one lucky throw proves nothing. Doesn't it? Vextar turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying easily across the plaza. Tell me, warriors of all species, how many of you could have caught that blade? The silence that followed was answer enough. Marcus saw Zephyrians shaking their four-armed heads, Quillnacks chittering nervously, and even members of other species that Marcus didn't recognize looking uncomfortable. Commander Torres pushed closer to Marcus, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. Chun, you need to be very careful here. I think you've just attracted some unwanted attention. She was right. Marcus could see more Vorthan arriving in the plaza, their weapons and armor marking them as military personnel. Word was spreading through their communication networks, and they were coming to see the human who had bested one of their blade masters. Vextar continued speaking, his voice taking on the tone of someone making an important announcement. According to Galactic Survey records, humans achieved spaceflight only recently. Their homeworld has gravity slightly higher than standard, and their evolution was shaped by constant predation. But these are just numbers in a database. The elder gestured toward Marcus. What we have witnessed today suggests that human reflexes and hand-eye coordination may be far superior to our estimates. This has significant implications for their potential in combat scenarios. Marcus didn't like where this conversation was heading. Look, I'm not a soldier. I'm just a cargo handler who helped a friend in trouble. A cargo handler, Vextar repeated, his scarred head tilting to one side. Not a trained warrior. Not a member of your species' military elite. Just an ordinary human performing routine physical labor. That's right. Vextar turned to Krex. Tell me, young Blade Master, what is required to achieve your rank in our military? Krex straightened proudly. 10 years of intensive training, Elder. Mastery of 17 different weapon types. Victory in 50 formal duels. Reflexes tested and certified to be in the top 1% of our species. And yet this ordinary human caught your blade and made you miss his return throw, Vextar observed. Which raises a disturbing question. If their average specimens possess such capabilities, what might their trained warriors be capable of? Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The Vorthen were a warrior culture, and they were starting to view humans as a potential threat rather than primitive newcomers. This could escalate into something much larger than a simple honor duel. It's not like that, Marcus said quickly. Humans aren't naturally violent. We prefer trade and diplomacy. I only stepped in because someone was about to get hurt over a misunderstanding. Fachinauting, Vextar mused. Superior combat reflexes combined with protective instincts toward other species. Most warrior races use their abilities for conquest or dominance. But you used yours to protect a Quillnak you barely knew. The young Quillnak that Marcus had saved spoke up, his voice squeaky but determined. The human told the truth, honored Elder. He has shown me nothing but kindness since he arrived on this station. Many aliens ignore us Quillnaks or treat us as inferior. But Marcus always speaks to us with respect. Pip, the elderly food vendor, pushed forward as well. This is true. Human Marcus buys food from my stall and asks about my family. He helped me repair my cooling unit when it broke. He shows kindness to all species. Other voices began joining in from the crowd. A Zephyrian merchant spoke of Marcus helping to load cargo without being asked. A maintenance worker from the docking bays mentioned how Marcus had warned him about a dangerous gas leak. Small acts of consideration and helpfulness that Marcus had barely thought about. Vextar listened to each testimony with growing interest. So humans possess superior reflexes, protective instincts, and natural cooperation with other species. This is indeed unprecedented in our galactic experience. Commander Torres stepped forward, clearly deciding that diplomatic intervention was necessary. Elder Vextar, I am Commander Maria Torres of the Earth Embassy. I hope this incident won't cause any diplomatic complications between our peoples. Complications? Vextar's laugh was surprisingly warm. Commander, I believe this incident may be the beginning of a very profitable relationship. The elder turned back to Marcus. Human, would you be willing to participate in some friendly training exercises with our warriors? Nothing dangerous or formal. We would simply like to better understand your species' capabilities. Marcus looked at Commander Torres, who nodded slightly. This was clearly better than having the Vorthen view humans as a threat to be eliminated. I suppose I could do that, Marcus agreed. But I want it understood that I'm not representing all humans. I might just be lucky or unusually quick. Perhaps, Vextar said with a knowing smile. But somehow I doubt that very much. As the crowd began to disperse, Marcus noticed that the young Quillnak he had saved was still standing nearby, looking like he wanted to say something. Thank you, the small alien finally whispered. I thought I was going to die today. You saved my life. What's your name? Marcus asked. Ziktar. I'm a junior analyst for the Trade Verification Department. Well, Ziktar, next time maybe double-check your math before questioning a Vorthen's prices, Marcus said with a smile. Actually, Ziktar replied, his whiskers twitching with what Marcus had learned was Quillnak humor. I did double-check. The Vorthen really were overcharging by 30%. 3 weeks after the knife-catching incident, Marcus found himself in the strangest situation of his life. He stood in the center of a Vorthan training facility, surrounded by some of the most elite warriors in the galaxy, teaching them lessons about human reflexes and combat techniques. The key isn't strength, Marcus explained to a group of fascinated Vorthan cadets. Humans don't have the raw power of a Zephyrian or the armor of Kralix. We survive through adaptability and quick thinking. Elder Vextar watched from the sidelines, taking detailed notes on a holographic tablet. The old warrior had been true to his word about friendly training exercises. Over the past 3 weeks, Marcus had participated in dozens of tests, simulations, and friendly competitions. The results had surprised everyone, including Marcus himself. It turned out that human reflexes weren't just slightly better than average. They were off the charts compared to most galactic species. Humans had developed under unique evolutionary pressures that created a combination of speed, precision, and adaptability that was almost unknown in the galaxy. Demonstrate the evasion pattern again, requested Krex, who had become one of Marcus's most eager students. The former Blade Master's embarrassment had transformed into genuine respect and curiosity about human capabilities. Marcus nodded and activated the training hologram. Dozens of simulated projectiles began firing at him from different angles. Energy bolts, thrown weapons, and flying debris. He moved through the barrage like he was dancing, his body twisting and bending to avoid each threat by the smallest possible margin. The Vorthan cadets watched in amazement. What looked impossible to them was simply Marcus's natural reaction to multiple moving objects. Growing up on industrial colonies where equipment failures could send debris flying in all directions had trained him to track and avoid numerous threats simultaneously. In human space, Marcus explained as he dodged the last few projectiles, we call this situational awareness. Our brains automatically track moving objects and calculate collision courses. It's not something we think about. It just happens. After the training session, Marcus headed back to his quarters, only to find Commander Torres waiting for him with a serious expression and a sealed data packet. We need to talk, Chun, she said. Privately. They walked to Torres's office in silence. Once the door was sealed and privacy shields were activated, the commander activated her holographic display. Images of starships and military formations appeared in the air between them. I've been in communication with Earth Command, Torres began. They're very interested in the reports I've been sending about your performance here. What kind of interested? Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. The kind where they want to completely reevaluate humanity's position in the Galactic Union. Marcus, do you understand what you've done here? You've single-handedly changed how every alien species in the galaxy views our species. Torres manipulated the display, showing Marcus intelligence reports from dozens of different worlds. The Zephyrian Trade Council has increased their technology transfer agreements with Earth by 400%. The Quilnak Science Academy wants to establish joint research programs. Even the notoriously xenophobic Helican Empire is requesting formal diplomatic contact. All because I caught a knife. All because you demonstrated capabilities that nobody expected humans to possess. But more importantly, you showed them that humans use those capabilities to protect others rather than dominate them. Torres paused, studying Marcus's face. Earth Command wants to offer you a commission in the Diplomatic Corps. Full rank of Lieutenant Commander, with authority to represent humanity in interspecies negotiations. Marcus stared at the offered rank insignia. I'm a cargo handler, Commander. I don't know anything about diplomacy or politics. You know about fairness. You know about standing up for those who can't defend themselves. And, apparently, you know how to earn the respect of warrior cultures throughout the galaxy. Torres smiled. Besides, Elder Vextar specifically requested that you be assigned as Earth's military liaison to the Vorthan War Council. Military liaison? But I'm not even a soldier. According to Vextar, that's exactly why you're perfect for the job. He says most military liaisons try to impress their counterparts with tales of conquest and victory, but you impress them by showing restraint and protecting the weak. He believes humans might be the first species that could help the Vorthen evolve beyond their pure warrior culture. Marcus thought about Krex, who had gone from wanting to kill him to asking for training tips. He thought about the young cadets who were learning that strength meant protecting others, not dominating them. He thought about Ziktar, who now worked closely with the verification department to ensure fair trading practices throughout the station. What would this job actually involve, he asked. Cultural exchange programs, training exercises, helping establish protocols for human Vorthen cooperation, and occasionally catching flying knives when diplomatic negotiations get heated. Marcus laughed at that last part. Does this happen often in alien diplomacy? More than you might expect. The Vorthens still settle many disputes through ritual combat. Having someone on our staff who can hold their own in those situations could prevent a lot of misunderstandings. Through Torres's office window, Marcus could see the busy marketplace where this all began. Pip was selling fruit to a mixed group of aliens, including several Vorthen who had started frequenting his stall after hearing about his testimony. Ziktar was helping a confused Zephyrian trader understand the new fair pricing guidelines. Species that had barely tolerated each other were now working together. There's one more thing, Torres added. Earth Command has decided to establish a new training program based on your demonstrations here. They want to send more humans to stations throughout the galaxy, not as workers or traders, but as protectors and mediators. Protectors? Think about it, Marcus. Humans have the reflexes to handle dangerous situations, the intelligence to understand complex problems, and apparently the moral instinct to help others regardless of species. That's a rare combination in the galaxy. Marcus picked up the rank insignia, feeling its weight. It was heavier than he expected, but somehow it felt right in his hand. Will I still be able to visit Pip's food stall? Torres grinned. I think visiting local establishments and building relationships with ordinary citizens would be a crucial part of your diplomatic duties. Outside the window, Marcus could see more species working together than ever before. Humans weren't just another member of the Galactic Union anymore. They were becoming the bridge that helped different species understand each other. All right, Marcus said, pinning the insignia to his uniform. But I still expect my weekends off. Catching flying knives is exhausting work.